Hello and welcome to the Rabblecast. My name is Erik and it's been a while. I'm happy to be back. In fact, tonight's episode is a happy little accident. We were not planning on recording tonight. I was going to record something for the anniversary. If you're keeping track at home, we are now celebrating 19 years of the show as of the 16th of May. And I was going to do something small, something simple. And then Doug texted me. And we got together for a little bit. So he is on the show as well for a short bit for the first half. And then I go off and do my own little rambling and rant at the very end. Again, involving Marvel and superhero movies. Quelle surprise. But we have fun. We talk about a bunch of different things. And it's like we never missed a step. We're right back at it. So we're going to talk about it and see what we can do going forward. And hopefully get back at it at a regular schedule or a regular time. And see what we can do from there. But in the meantime, 19 years. We are brought to you by InsidePulse.com. You can check out the show over at Rabblecast.libsyn.com, where the show is always uploaded. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Rabblecast. It's been a while since I've said all this. Let me see if I can keep track here. Send us a tweet at Rabblecast on X. Check out the Rabblecast Facebook fan page. I'll be posting some stuff up, especially for the anniversary. And email us, rabblecast@gmail.com. And as always, you can download us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So if you want to take us on the go, if you want to be at work, if you want to be at the gym, if you want to be driving into work, if you want to walk the dog, whatever the case is. By the way, hi, Chris. It's been a while, so it's fun to get back to it and see what we can do. And we'll see what happens. I'll just leave it at that. It's been a while, and the intro is always fun because I don't know what I'm going to say. Really, that's pretty much the show. So let's get to it. Enjoy the show.
How long has it been since we've done this?
I don't remember off the top of my head, actually. I could probably go looking through the files and find a timestamp. But on a regular basis, it's been quite some time. In fact, for those playing at home who've been asking, first off, thank you. Because, we've been going through a bunch of stuff. Once again, life clobbers you upside the head and things go sideways sometimes. But I still have a bunch of episodes from 2024 that haven't been fully edited and released. So there's a bunch of that I think I'm going to fall under the banner of Rabblecast Rewind at this point.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, it's... our schedules have been kind of off. Things have been all over the place. I know me with the family and work and everything else. Things have been busy, but in a good way, so I really can't complain. I just haven't had the time. Like, I remember back in the day, I would finish up a show. We'd record like on a Tuesday night, Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on what era of the show. And I would have 2 to 3 nights to edit. Come Friday or Saturday, I'd put the show up and it would be like clockwork. I'd put it out consistently, which is funny because everybody's like, oh, great. Consistency is key when it comes to podcasts. I'm like, great. That sounds fantastic. I've been doing that for a while. And then, like, once the pandemic hit and other things were going on, like, the consistency wasn't there. Mm-hmm. But I've had emails, friends and family who've been asking about it. And they've been saying, oh, you're going to put another one? Are you done doing the show? I'm like, no, the show's never really done, so to speak. So long as there are things to talk about, so long as there's things that we're interested in, we just haven't had the time. So, so the fact that you texted me tonight and I was in the middle of cleaning up and I was like, oh, hey, shit. And then I told you before we went on air, one of my coworkers was like, hey, you going to put up another episode soon? Your anniversary's coming up. I'm like, oh, shit. And we just looked up the date. Tonight's the 15th. Tomorrow's the 16th. So as of tomorrow is the 19-year anniversary of the show.
That's wild.
Quite easily the longest running thing I've ever put a commitment towards.
You should start listing as the longest running podcast in the history of podcasting.
Are we? I guess.
Well, who else was doing a podcast in 2006? Podcasting, I don't even think it was a thing yet. I didn't hear of the first podcast until like 2010-ish.
No, podcasts were a thing before then. What's the guy's name? Adam Curry, former MTV VJ. He's like referred to as the Podfather. I think he's the guy who literally like came up with the, I don't know, the programming or the setup for it, but essentially he came up with the idea of podcasting, and then when Apple was doing their iPod, they contacted him and it became a thing.
Oh, really?
I believe, don't quote me on that. That's like a janky memory I have right now, but I think that's how it went. So not to say he's been doing it consistently either, but like for someone, I don't know. Shit, yeah, 19-year podcast. You might be onto something, sir.
Well, actually, I just looked it up. Never mind. There's actually a Wikipedia entry for the history of podcasting.
Oh, shit.
And yeah, previously known as audio blogs, have roots dating back to the 1980s.
What the fuck? Really?
Yeah.
That's
with
cheating.
the advent of broadband internet access and portable digital audio playback devices such as the iPod, podcasting began to catch hold in late 2004. Today, there are more than 115,000 English language podcasts available on the internet.
Okay.
I question that. I'm going to say there's probably at least 9 zillion English language podcasts on the internet.
But I was right when I said 04. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah. So it looks you were correct.
Did they drop Adam Curry's name at all?
I'm not that far along. I've found there's some weird stuff in Russia in 1989.
Okay.
Yeah. The Illusion of Independent Radio is a Russian samizdat radio program created in 1989, Rostov-on-Don, and distributed on magnetic tape and cassettes. Huh. I don't know if I'm going to count that.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, as far as like broadcasting, like you want to go back to like, I mean, hell, I remember growing up watching Wayne's World and the idea of public access, paying a local station just to have airtime, and then if you had a video camera and you could just put your shit together and put it out on public access, that was a form of broadcasting, not necessarily podcasts, but. There's always been a way to get yourself out there, I guess, so long as you had the technology and the fees to pay. But no, as far as podcasting, it exists on iPods or through the iTunes store and stuff like that, because that's where it all really caught fire. Because remember back in the day, what's a podcast?
I was like a pod, because I didn't realize I've never owned an iPod. So, yeah, that was kind of an alien concept to me.
Yeah, I mean, and let's face it, even the iPod itself is a relic at this point because that slowly got merged into the iPhone, so there was no need for an iPod. You could always just have everything on your phone.
Yeah, funny story about that on the side note. A friend of mine, he still uses MP3 players. He doesn't do it through his phone. And I remember him talking about it's getting harder and harder to track down standalone MP3 players.
Yes.
He has to special order them from overseas or some weird weird websites and stuff like that because at this point, because he doesn't stream anything. He literally downloads them and loads them onto his MP3 player, and that's how he listens to all of his podcasts.
I respect that.
Yeah, he's a very particular human being, so that's how that's how that does business. I love him. He's a good friend. I've known the guy for a very long time, but he's a creature of tendency.
Truth be told, my first iPod was, I believe, my wife got it for me for Christmas one year, and it was one of the video iPods.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, on the box when you got it, it was a black box with an image of the iPod itself. Because it was a video iPod, they had an image of the Gorillaz, their first album. And when we got them, it was all fun. You know, like the little on the front, it was black. The back was all chromed out, and it was a little rectangular box. It had the headphone jack and the little wheel, the little clicky wheel that when you spun, it just click, 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 and the entire time it made that satisfying sound. It had the button in the middle. You learn how to navigate that, and I really didn't watch many videos on it at the time. I just downloaded whatever MP3s or whatever songs I had on my computer onto it. And after a while, the battery got bloated, and it stopped working. I intended to fix it. In fact, it's somewhere in the house still, I'm sure. I just never got around to it. Then I went to a video iPod, an iPod Touch, I believe it's called. It was like, third generation maybe. Up until, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Yeah, right around the time the pandemic hit. Right before the pandemic, my iTouch screen cracked. And I was I was so frustrated. But I was like, oh, stupid, you have an iPhone.
I was going to say, you have one of these in your pocket, effectively.
I do, but the thing is, like your friend, I would use my my iTouch, and I would use that whenever I went to the gym and went to work out. Just that I would have to use a headphone jack. But then later on, when I bought wireless headphones, I'm like, oh, this has Bluetooth. Brilliant. So it became a little bit easier. But if you can separate them, it makes it easier, because that way you're not getting phone calls, you're not getting updates. It was a much easier way to go about it. So yeah, if he's still doing with just like regular MP3 players, whether it's a iPod, a Zune, remember those?
Yeah.
The off-brand MP3 players, I had some of those as well. They had the little SD cards that you can slide in and out. Like all those things. Like if you can keep it separate, that actually was quite useful. But I think it was at the end of the iPod when they were making like the Nano and everything else, and you can get like a watch band for it and put it on your wrist, or get like a band for your arm, and then you just strap it to your bicep as you went to go work out. Made it much easier. You didn't have to worry about it putting in your pocket, sitting on it, or damaging it, or scratching the screen, stuff like that. But yeah, I should fucking fix my iPods. I know the one is. Let's see. Yeah, the one's right next to me, actually.
Oh, there. Yeah.
So I could always fix that one up. I just need to find a replacement screen. But yeah, dude, like it's weird the evolution. If you track the evolution of podcasts and what it's become so ubiquitous now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many different services are out there? Besides the Apple Store, what is it? Google Play, Spotify, like all the different streaming services have their own version of a podcast now. They just don't refer to it as such. They just now, come to my show, because it's not that podcasts had a stigma, but no, like we said, nobody understood what a podcast was. When you say, "Hey, you just want to come record my show?" Like, "Oh yeah, sure, let's get together." So
yeah, well, before that was the internet radio, which I think a lot of people were just like, what the fuck? Sounds stupid.
Yeah. Oh God, what was the one? There was one back in the day I used to listen to. A friend of ours, when I used to go out to clubs out in Trenton, he gave me a website. I can't remember what it was. That's where I started listening to a lot of EDM music. It was EDM radio, and just random songs would pop up, like V&V Nation. What was it? Project Pitchfork.
A Pop Tigma Berserk.
Yes, that was that was a popular one. And One's Technoman is has a very special place in my heart, as does Military Fashion Show. If you haven't listened to those songs, please do. Download them. They're fun. Be Born Benton, Covenant. This is back from like we were hanging out in the coffee house days in Somerville, and and my little boy's in the background. Night, buddy. He just made a cameo. Yeah, back in the coffee house days, one of the servers, or one of the managers, always gave us his recommendations on stuff. He goes, "Oh, you guys just listen to regular radio, regular pop stuff, just like commercial music. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's what I'm used to, but I'm open to whatever. And he opened my eyes to a bunch of different things. Funny enough, his name was also Eric. Cool dude, but he always had recommendations for different things. It was fun to learn different genres and different artists, and it's stuck with me a long, long time at this point. And V&V Nation is one of my favorite bands now. Like I if you ask me like the Mount Rushmore of top bands that I've listened to in my life that I consider like mainstays for me, you have the Monkees from back in the day. One of the original boy bands.
True, very true.
Kiss, because the costumes and the makeup and the mystique for me back in the day was always something. I've always had a thing. If anybody's listened to the show, anything involving like characters with face paint, I've always been interested. So, Monkees, Kiss, V&V Nation, and the last one is always changing up for me. But I always like slot somebody else in there depending on what's going on. I'd probably put Covenant in there as one of them. If not, pick a rock band from the 80s. And it would also like switch in and out depending. But those are like always, for me, they're like, I guess you said like comfort foods.
Yeah.
If I'm out having a drive or out for a run, I just find something along those lines and I'm good.
Okay, question then.
Oh no.
Who was the worst member of Kiss?
Who is the what?
Who was the worst member of Kiss?
The worst? Oh, dude, you gonna fuck me with this one?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's okay to say Eric Carr or Vinnie Vincent.
No, Eric Carr I actually liked quite a bit. In fact, he gets a pass only because he was probably like one of the shorter tenures. Unfortunately, he passed away. The band was doing really well, so I would actually say probably Vinnie Vincent, only because I kept hearing he was really difficult to work with.
Okay.
And his tenure with the band was only like 1 or 2 albums, so probably like a few years, maybe at best.
All right, right on.
So aside from that, like you got your mainstays: Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley, Peter Criss. I got to see them live, so I'm happy. Later on, when Ace was replaced by Tommy Thayer, still in the Spaceman costume, okay, Eric Singer, who came along during the Revenge days, he took over as the Catman. And then you've got your other guys in there, Bruce Kulick. Oh God, why am I blanking on the other guy? Mark St. John, who played on one album. Who else? There was also Bob Kulick, Bruce Kulick's brother, but apparently he didn't fit into the band because he had a shaved head. And they couldn't come up with a character for him at the time as far as the makeup days. So they're like, yeah, no, you're just the studio player. Thanks for filling in.
I could totally see Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley just looking at the guy with no hair and just being like, just shaking their heads like, no, just nah, man.
It's like, we got to look at the style and the theme, and it's not working out. So,
yeah.
No, I get it. It's funny because I grew up in the era like just as Kiss was taking off their makeup.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the mystique was still there because I was still learning about the band. But by the time like MTV hit, the makeup could come off, and they're like, "Oh, it's not the same band. They're just a bunch of Jewish guys," and just they took a lot of flack for it. But at the same time, I was like, "Okay, no, I like it." But then when I went to school with like a Kiss T-shirt or a Kiss patch on my jacket, I'd get made fun of mercilessly. Oh, you like a girly band, fucking hair bands, guys who fucking wear makeup, fucking fag. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, the 80s were not nice.
Well, it's funny though, but if you think about it, they were probably listening to some really ridiculous shit themselves. So
yeah. Absolutely. Look, I took it back then because it is what it is. So like if people listen to Poison or Motley Crue, especially back in the 80s, look, they were all wearing makeup and teasing their hair up with a fucking Aquanet. So in fact, I think I remember I might have been Motley Crue when they went on tour. And they were asked, hey, what do you need as far as like supplies for stage and everything? And they would respond, hey, what does Kiss order when they go on stage? Oh, they order like a case of Aquanet. Yeah, let's get that. So they would look at people who came before them. And let's face it, like, even Kiss is not original. They just took an idea and ran with it. Like the New York Dolls, another good example. Mm-hmm. Bands that just dressed up, look like what's the word I'm looking for here? Very androgynous.
Yeah.
So you'd look on band like, oh, dude, that guy is awesome, but that dude's kind of cute. So people weren't sure if they were in love or if they just liked the music. Confused a lot of dudes, especially my favorite is the fact that Rob Halford of Judas Priest convinced an entire generation of rockers to dress up in leather and in chains, not realizing that he was gay. Mm-hmm. And then later on, whether these guys are over and around, like, yeah, man, fucking Judas Priest, man, breaking the law. Wait, he's gay? Oh, fuck, dude. Am I gay?
Well, do you did you ever watch Heavy Metal Parking Lot?
No. What's this?
You never heard of Heavy Metal Parking Lot?
It does not ring any bells whatsoever.
So Heavy Metal Parking Lot is a documentary from, I think it's 1986. It literally is what it sounds like in the name. A couple of documentarians ended up at it was somewhere outside DC. I can't remember the name of the venue. It was for a bunch of people were hanging out in the parking lot, tailgating and partying before a Judas Priest Dokken concert that was going to be held there that night.
Nice.
And one of the funniest moments on it is they're talking to some lady and they ask her about Rob Halford, and she goes, in like a terrible accent I still can't place to this day, she goes, yeah, I jump his bones. And I remember watching that like maybe years ago and just laughing hysterically at that, but I was like, well, it was a different time, nobody knew what the fuck was going on. But fun fact, actually I got the Wikipedia article up right now. Heavy Metal Parking Lot is a 1986 shot on video documentary, short produced by Jeff Krulik and John Hine. And yeah, Landover, Maryland. And there were actually sequels. There was one that was not finished. It was called Monster Truck Parking Lot, and it was fans of a monster truck rally. In 1996, at the same venue, they did Neil Diamond Parking Lots. And then in 1999, they did Harry Potter Parking Lot.
What the fuck?
I'm just telling you what's on the article. It's pretty wild.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure last I checked, it was on YouTube in its entirety. It's a fun time capsule of just watching. I mean, it's very easy to make fun of because there are a bunch of kind of stupid fucking metalheads in the 80s, and they're all in various states of drunk as shit. But it's also kind of endearing in a certain way, as everyone's just hanging out together, just partying and vibing on the fucking music they like.
I love when you have moments like those, like you said, like a time capsule. Because I remember I was watching MTV one time, and it was like a docu-series in a sense. They were following around different club goers to rock clubs, and they were getting their takes on what kind of bands they like, what kind of music they like. And there was this one girl that they interviewed, cute looking girl for what it was. It was like late 80s, whatever the case is. You can tell that the big hair and everything was about to die down because Nirvana was like right around the corner kind of thing. But here's like this, I'm sure it was like a rundown rock club, probably smelled like just horrible with beer and vomit all over the place. And this one girl in her crop top outfit, mini skirt, hair all teased up and makeup and everything, saying, "Oh, I like watching the guitar players on stage because the way he plays his guitar is the way I picture him in bed." I was like, oh. And they cut to the guy playing guitar. Like at first he's playing it normally. He's off to the side, strumming his guitar, hitting the chords. And all of a sudden later on during one of the hard parts, he puts the guitar and he's pointing it out towards the audience. So he's straddling the guitar essentially. And he starts writhing. What's that?
The guitar is his wiener.
Exactly. And he's just playing it really hard. I'm like, oh God, really? Okay. If that's what it takes for you to think that guy might be good in bed, I'm like, damn, the 80s were a different time.
Yep.
But no, it's funny to see that kind of thing. The other one that always comes to mind when you talk about documentaries along those lines is The Decline of Western Civilization.
Yes.
Which, I don't remember what year it was. A while back, I remember hearing a podcast, if you will, and they were celebrating, I think it was the 20th or 30th anniversary of it at the time. So
it's got to be the That was early 80s.
Yeah, so they did like a re-release of the documentary itself, and I think they made like a book for it. And then apparently there was a follow-up to it. I think they did the East Coast as well. I don't remember off the top of my head, but they had a lot of cool interviews and pictures, and you just, like I said, like a time capsule of what it was. And that was one of those documentaries that was talked about a lot back then.
Mm-hmm.
But just as time went on, really hasn't been remembered as much. Well, let's face it, in different generations, so they just forget things. But that's one that I've always been meaning to go back and check out, because I'm like, oh, those are fun times. I remember, for as much as I was like a kid back then, like I have older brothers, so a lot of the shenanigans that they were into, I learned a lot of shit early on that I probably shouldn't have been privy to, and saw a lot of things. But hey, it was fun times.
I have. When was the last? And you haven't watched Decline in some time, correct?
Earliest maybe like early 90s, maybe.
Okay.
So yeah, over 25 years at this point.
There's one clip that if I ever catch myself thinking about it, the one clip I always find myself going back to watch is when I think it's Fear is playing in San Francisco, and the lead singer leaving, well, we know of course from Clue and a bunch of other stuff. Him and I think the bassist, before they even start playing, they just spend 10 minutes just verbally abusing the crowd and calling everybody queer and just making fun of the women there, to the point where people are getting on stage to fight them. And they're basically just like, while they're like holding their equipment, they're just basically throwing hands with people, because they're just like, yeah, we're just going to be complete assholes to all of you. And it's like,
yeah.
God damn. I mean, I can appreciate the commitment to it, but yeah, you watch it and it's like, this has not aged terribly well. But it was a different time.
It's funny because when we talk about stuff like that, especially clubs back then, did you ever go to the Birch Hill?
No, what's that?
The Birch Hill was a rock club down in Old Bridge, and so this was early 2000s, like 2001, 2002, right around that time. Mm-hmm. I was working retail in one of the stores in Rockaway around the holidays. 2 employees were killed because somebody was robbing the store, and they I guess put up a resistance, whatever the case was. But the home office was really worried, and optics, and because of the holidays, they said, oh, we don't want there to be another issue, so we're going to start posting security guards at our stores. Being that we worked in a mall, we just got a random security guy who would come in and hang out, and his job was just to stand at the back of the store while things were busy and make sure that nothing got out of hand. The one guy eventually came up to me and goes, hey man, you're a pretty big guy, you're kind of stocky. You ever considered doing security? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, I work down at this club down in Old Bridge. I was like, you ever hear of the Birch Hill? I'm like, yeah, I think I've heard it a couple times. I've remember friends going to it and different shows being down there, but I've never actually been. He goes, hey, take my card, head down there on a Saturday or it was like a Friday afternoon or a Saturday. There's usually shows going on. Go talk to Big Brian, and he'll put you to work. I was like, you sure? He goes, yeah, you can go down there. This is before where you had to get your SOAR license. Nowadays, you have to actually go through and pay a fee and get a license to be a security guard. But,
I've heard about it.
Yeah, I went down there one day. I was like, all right, let me give it a shot. And this is like before GPS or anything else, so I had to look up like MapQuest and try to find my ways down there. Pretty easy place to get to. I pull up, park. I'm driving my 87 Nissan Pulsar. I pull in, find a spot to park. I walk in. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for Big Brian. He goes, guy at the bar. I walk over, and there's this hulking man hunched over the bar, just sitting down. But he was like, he had to be 6 foot something, and he was almost as tall as he was standing up as he was laying down.
Just a big, wide dude.
Yeah, huge. And I walk up to him, and I didn't mean to be an ass, but I walked up. I'm like, you must be Big Brian. He goes, and you're a smart ass. Here's a shirt. Go to the front door. Didn't interview me. Didn't anything. Just gave me a security t-shirt and put me to work.
Well, there you are, man. That's how we did business back in those days.
Yeah, dude, it was fucking awesome. So I started like working the door for different concerts. The only shit part was this was right around the time when Great White had their incident at one of their shows. Great White, the rock band, the pyrotechnic issue, where I guess they were like low ceilings, or they didn't like take into account how far the pyrotechnics were going to go up, and the ceiling caught fire. And there was this whole debacle. I don't know if there was loss of life. I can't remember. It's been so long. But
a lot of people died in that club.
Is that okay? I don't remember the number.
I think it was like 20 or 30 people died. They cheaped out on their soundproofing material, and they just went and got styrofoam, I believe.
Oh,
which when Great White set off their pyrotechnics, all of that ignited, and not only burn very well, it kicks off toxic gas. Between that and a couple other things with how poorly the place was marked, that was 2000. That was early 2003. That was in Providence, Rhode Island, I believe.
Okay, so that syncs up right around that time then. Yeah, 2003, because when I got there, they were talking about, hey, look, the Birch Hill is an old club. I've only ever seen it in the dark up until that point when I was working. But then when I got there early hours for my assignments, you saw the place in the daylight. And oh my gosh, the place was a fucking shitbox. But there were very low ceilings as well. When Guar would play there, they would squirt like all the fluids. They would hit the ceilings and they'd be dripping down and everything else. It was fucking disgusting. And not like they changed out the ceiling tiles at any point in time. If it stayed up, it stayed up. But I remember that was around the time where they said, Great White happened, a lot of things happening here. So the fire marshal is going to come in. The maximum occupancy of the room was, I think they said like 150 or 200 or something like that.
Yeah.
If we go over that number, we're going to get shut down. The fire marshal will cut the power. That's it. Show's over. Everybody goes home. Nobody gets paid. So they gave us counters. These little click counters that were handheld. Every time we let somebody in, we had to click them in. Every time somebody left the room for whatever reason, we had to click them out. And we had to tell them, if you leave the main room, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to get back in. You'd have to watch the show on one of the monitors on the outside. I'm like, well, that fucking sucks. I paid for my ticket. I'm like, dude, it's not up to me if you take it up with the fire marshal. And I remember I was fucking yelled at. I was fucking called all manner of different names because people were pissed at me because obviously I'm the guy who's responsible for everything. I'm at the door.
The guy working the door clearly sets policy.
Exactly. I was like, look, dude, this is what I'm told. If you want to get in, this is the number. If somebody leaves, you're more than welcome to come in. But it's, my girlfriend's with me. I'm like, I only have room for one. If your girlfriend wants to be responsible for the show being shut down, you tell her that. And all manner of different arguments and everything else. But that was like my short stint of bouncing.
Didn't you do security for a Type 1 Negative show there once?
Oh, fuck. I don't remember if it was that one. I was there I wasn't security. I went as a fan for the ICP show and Two Life Crew.
Okay.
Which was funny. Because I actually got the crowd surfing and accidentally kicked one of my coworkers in the head. Me at like 275 being picked up for crowd surfing was fucking weird. What was that? There was the transplants I was there for because I stood right next to Pink and didn't realize it was her at first. It might have been one of the shows. Yeah, I remember the All American Rejects were there at one point, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this guys?" And like, "Oh, they have that one song, Swing, Swing, Swing." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll take your word for it." But it was fun. It's a shame because the Birch Hill is no longer there, and they tore it down for I think like a senior living home or something like that.
Yeah,
but if we talk about like old clubs, like if you saw this place, like I say, in the daylight, it was horrible. If you lit it at night or for regular shows, it was all dark and you couldn't see much. You're like, oh man, this fucking club's awesome. Smells horrible, but it's fucking awesome.
Well, I'm sure at that time period, it basically that was when you were glad for cigarettes because that kept you from smelling the rest of the funk in the place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When the mosh pits started fucking happening, everybody would be thrashing around. One time I took my cousin to go see Guar, and that was the one time I got bruised ribs from a show. We got to the front of the the show itself, and there's the security barricade right there. And I was like maybe like 2 people from the front, but the crowd kept surging forward so much so that I felt something squeeze. I'm like, oh fuck, why does it feel wrong? And I was getting compressed. And then I realized later on when I went down to the bathroom that was downstairs, I went to try to like take in a deep breath. Like, ooh, that fucking hurts. And then for like 3 months later, I couldn't breathe right because my ribs were all fucked up. I was like, all right, note to self, don't get fucking caught in the against the barricades.
Oh, just because I was thinking about it, I looked it up really quick. The station nightclub fire was February 20th, 2003. 100 dead, 230 injured.
Damn, didn't realize it was that many. Shit. Well,
yep.
Because of the Great White incident, I ended up getting a temporary job as a bouncer for a while. And it was shortly after that, because that was the main thing everybody kept talking about. Yeah, Great White, and everything else that happened there with the pyrotechnics. And if you saw the ceiling tiles, or the ceiling itself at the bird show, they were fucking low. If you were on the stage, they were even lower. Like, you could jump up and punch the fucking ceiling if you wanted to. But yeah, that was the whole big thing. And I've worked spring, summer, and a little bit after that. And it was cool, because you would show up, you get your assignment, you get your t-shirt, you work the door, do whatever you had to do. If it was a guy and they say, you got to do a pat down or check for any weapons or anything like that, okay, no problem. If it's a girl, you had to get one of the other security guards to come down and take care of it for you. It was fun. And then at a certain point, once it got slow, somebody would come over, like, you're relieved. You can go take your shirt off, if you want to watch the show, have fun. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. So I got to see quite a few shows for free. But that old rock club, that old smell, it's just like, in a weird way, I kind of miss it. It's a hard thing to describe. It just, there's a certain memory that arises from that. Like when I smell just like stale beer at a bar, it kind of takes me back there. So, just memories. and hearing all the stories from the other guards when they get, when they had somebody who was like being unruly or just decided they want to be a punk, and they take the guy outside. Some of the fights that started, one of the guys who apparently like used to like lampoon like all over the East and West Coast as a security guard, he'd like wake up in a Lamborghini somewhere out in the shore. He'd wake up and go to stretch, and he'd like accidentally kick the fucking window out. And like, oh shit. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Because the funny thing is, it wasn't even my Lamborghini. It's like, whose fucking car was it? He goes, I don't fucking know. I just woke up in it. Okay. Just like a lot of weird shit that I was privy to just because of a weird like weekend side gig while working retail. So,
all right,
weird ass shit. So, do you have to head out or?
Yeah, it's we've just I gotta wrap it up for the evening. So yes.
Okay, sir. Well, do you want to try to get back on track and doing these or?
Yeah, let's talk how we're going to do going forward. But yeah, we'll kind of do it week to week, because things are going to be a little bit screwed up in the next couple of weeks for me.
All right, yeah, let's figure that out off mic and see what's going on, because I know you've got I know the situation for you is always fluid, so.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Yeah, dude. Well, at the very least, it was nice to hear from you.
You too, man. You too.
I appreciate the text. I appreciate you jumping on mic with me to just fucking gab a little bit. And who knows? We'll see what happens when the 20th anniversary rolls around.
There we are. Yep.
All right, brother. I'm gonna keep going, but you have a good night.
All right. You too, man. You take care.
All right. Peace. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard correctly. That was Mr. Doug. One name only. Yeah, things have been a little bit weird around the area. The show has always been something I love to do. Before anybody else ever asks anything else, when's the next episode coming out? What's going on with the show? Have you stopped doing it? Doug has had a bunch of stuff going on. We've talked about it in previous episodes. He had some family issues, some moving issues, and everything else. I'm not going to get into it. That's his personal stuff. But I know he's mentioned some of it on the show, so I'll only go that far. But with whatever he had going on, I had things going on as well. The schedule here gets really busy. Doctor's appointments, karate classes for the kids, babysitters, trying to find time to go out and do things, help family members. Like, it's been a hodgepodge of different things, and work's been good. I got to say, for anybody following along now, I'm coming up on almost a year now on my current job, and it's a very, very rewarding job in the fact that I work with a bunch of great guys. The environment that I'm in lets me get shit done, apply myself, learn new things. The shop environment that we're in, we have a lot of fun. We tell jokes. We keep each other amused. It's good stuff. So I can't complain. For as busy as I am, it's not a bad thing. It's very welcome. The only thing is, I have to find a way to structure things so that I can find the time that I want and need for certain things. So with that said, like, we're trying to nail down times for my son's karate classes, try to nail time down for the wife and for her to do what she's going to do. And then at the same time, family time and time alone with the wife. It's to ourselves, all that stuff. Trust me, when I don't know anybody's situation. I'm talking like if I know you guys, when you're in a family situation and you've got so many things going on, it's very important to work on the different relationships with my sons, relationship with the wife, and everything else. So we always try to figure out what's going on. Sometimes it can lead to some uncomfortable moments. Sometimes it leads to a lot of happy moments, thankfully, but we just try to figure it all out. And with that said, the show has not been the number one priority. I've always said life takes precedence. So if something ever comes up and I can't find the time to sit down and record, I have to skip. I haven't had the time to sit down and edit. I have at least, I want to say a handful because I don't know the exact number, but I have at least a handful of episodes that were from, I want to say like the fall of last year at this point. I know that Doug and I have gotten together here and there to record, but a lot of the subjects at this point that we're going to go over from then are outdated or whatever the case is, but we wanted to get back together. And again, thanks to the people who have been asking about it and saying, hey, look, the anniversary's coming up. Are you doing anything special? No, I'll tell you this. For the 19th anniversary, I'll flat out say, one, I didn't realize it was coming up so soon. It came up real quick on me. I try to always remember when May rolls around because my youngest son's birthday is in May as well. But I don't like off-year anniversaries. Yes, I'll acknowledge it. I'll say it. Happy anniversary, stuff like that. But for me, it's just like, okay, 19th year, 20th would be more meaningful to me. At least that's when you do, like, whenever you see any like commercialized advertisement, 15-year anniversary, 30-year anniversary, stuff like that. So let's see what happens there, because I will have a lot of fun, and maybe we can plan something and do some more stuff. I've had talked to a bunch of people who want to help out and do different things. So who knows? Maybe we'll hear some different voices going forward. Maybe we'll change the format up a little bit. I don't know. It's I don't want it to be cliched and normal and you're like, oh, they're just doing the same thing over and over again. I get it. Some people enjoy the show for what it is. Some people want more. I get it. It's always the same thing. You want something different, something new. It's a way to keep engaged. Trust me. Same here. So we'll see what happens. But I have been brainstorming a bunch of different things that I want to do. Not just for the show, but other stuff as well. Some topics I want to cover. One of the things I really was hoping that we could get together and talk about is some of the different summer movie releases for 2025. And that's to say that, like, last year or the year before, we did like a little rundown of upcoming movies and what to look out for, what we were anticipating. I know Doug doesn't get out often to watch new films, and he's been more selective, especially when it comes to theaters. Doug's a big horror fan, so if he finds something that he really, really likes, then he'll start talking about it, and then it's fun to hear him get excited about something. Me, on the other hand, I'm an easy mark, especially when it comes to superhero movies. You know that if you've been listening. To the point where I look forward to a bunch of different things. So like, what was it, March or April? April, I believe. Captain America, Brave New World. So I guess let me do a little bit of a rundown. I won't do the full list. But Captain America, Brave New World, where you got to see Sam Wilson go onto the big screen as Captain America and has the shield, has the wings and everything else. So he's for the first time, be Captain America. And I was really hyped for the film. I went to go watch it. to be honest, not one of the better outings for Marvel or the MCU. And I don't say that because I'm trying to say, oh, the movie fucking sucked. No, there were parts of the movie that I actually really, really enjoyed. My only problem is the third act of the film doesn't have satisfying closure. In that there's no big bad that they really fight. There's no big battle that really takes place. Spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. Red Hulk shows up. The President of the United States, Thunderbolt Ross in the MCU at that time, is transformed into the Red Hulk, which is fun. Harrison Ford takes over for William Hurt, and the whole thing, it was really good. It was really, it was highly anticipated for the time, but because of the writer's strike, and I also believe the actor's strike itself, a lot of things got changed up. Pandemic also played a part in this, where things got delayed, got rewritten. At one point, it was referred to as Captain America New World Order, but because of the historical implications of New World Order, they said, maybe not that title, that just sounds off. We don't want to give that that idea when people think about this movie. So it was changed to Brave New World. The same guy who was behind writing Falcon and the Winter Soldier for Disney Plus was also behind this one, I believe, is Malcolm Spellman. Again, great job. Did a lot of different things. They talk about the other Captain America, the Black Captain America, whose name Isaiah Bradley, I want to say it is, kind of escapes me, but how a black individual in the MCU was treated when he was given the super soldier serum and all that stuff. They touch upon different things. I think they did a better job with that in the series of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but then you get to see the same ideas gone over again in Brave New World. That's the, again, not to say it's the worst MCU movie. Trust me, there are worse ones. If you're going to sit there and rank them, I don't want to harp on the negative. I enjoyed it for what it was. I wanted more from it, so let's move on to the next one. Thunderbolts with an asterisk. If you have not watched Thunderbolts yet, it's about 2 weeks, I want to say, since it came out. I went on a early Thursday when they did the early screenings for it because I really wanted to catch it. The wife was nice enough to watch the kids. I left work and went directly to the theater, and I was able to catch an early showing. It was weird because when I came out of the theater and I still saw daylight coming through the doors, I was like, ooh, fuck, it's still early. But the movie, I will say this, and I'm not the first one to say this, so best MCU movie since Endgame. And that's saying a lot. Because you have a bunch of different movies that followed up after Endgame. Spider-Man, No Way Home, Deadpool, Wolverine, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I'm blanking on some of the other ones. Quantumania is really the one that people rag on the most, which, unfortunately, there's nothing really to be said about that one. That one could have been handled better, so I'm not going to worry about that one. If you haven't watched it, you're not missing a lot, but this is also during the time where they were doing the whole Kang changeover because of the controversy with the actor Jonathan Majors and everything else. But that's all aside. Thunderbolts was a fun film. From start to finish, a fun adventure. I was afraid of, when they said Thunderbolts, that they were going to give us another, hey, look, it's a team of bad guys who are now forced to do superhero missions. But they're being held in check because they have something being held over their head. It's very Suicide Squad-ish. And we've had already 2 Suicide Squad movies. And, they, in their own right, they're fun. But there's something about villains being made into good guys, quote unquote, that never really entirely sits right with me. But Thunderbolts does it in a fun way. Part of the origins of the Thunderbolt team are here in Ideal mostly. The members are very, very different this time around. If you read the comic book, essentially what happens is like Baron Zemo decides he wants to put together a team of heroes in the absence of the heroes after the Onslaught incident in the comics where everybody was thought to be dead. And they brought together a band of villains and say, hey, look, if we go under different names and different costumes, we can advertise ourselves as new heroes and we can fill the gap or the void left by the absent heroes that were seemingly lost. And then Thunderbolts are born. And then Thunderbolts also takes its name because of Thunderbolt Ross is also behind the forming of the team. In this case, he is not. They make mention of Thaddeus Ross, but he is not shown, nor is he involved in the team whatsoever. In this case, you have Yelena Belova as the Black Widow. You have John Walker as U.S. Agent. Ghost from the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, which is fun to see her again. Taskmaster from the Black Widow movie. You also have, who else? Let's see, Bob. They introduced Bob, who we later find out is the Sentry. That's not really a spoiler. The Red Guardian, Alexei, from Black Widow, and you have Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, played by. Damn it, I'm gonna blank on her fucking name. She played Elaine in Seinfeld. Forgive me if I can't remember the actress's name right now off the top of my head, but everybody who's in this does a great job. Oh, also the Winter Soldier, played by Sebastian Stan, Bucky. They all come together, and the way the story plays out, it's a lot of fun. It's assassins who are all contracted to take one another out, only to find out that they have been played against one another, and like, oh fuck, we've all worked for Valentina at some point or another, and we're all being now tied up as loose ends. So let's try to work together, even though we don't like each other, and let's try to find a way out of the situation. So I'll leave it there. I don't want to spoil the rest of the movie. The movie is fun, and the way it plays out later, the asterisk, I say, is revealed later on. If you have not seen the media blitz, the little gimmick they did with the posters, the asterisk is explained later in the film, and you find out what's going on with the team, what's going on with Valentina, and what's happening going forward. Also involving Bob. But later on, they have a post-credit scene which easily delves into the upcoming Fantastic Four First Steps. And a lot of people are starting to speculate what the storyline for this is going to be. This is what we know. Fantastic Four, they're in a future retro 1950 or 60s setting. So imagine if we go back to the 50s or 60s in our timeline, but somehow we have more advanced tech and superheroes were alive then. More specifically, the Fantastic Four. It's almost like a utopia type of world at this point. But then something happens where an intergalactic being known as Galactus comes to Earth, but he sends his herald, the Silver Surfer. In this version, we're going to get a female Silver Surfer as opposed to the male one from the comics in the previous movies. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But Galactus is a world devourer. He's coming to the Earth, mostly because apparently Reed has been messing around so much that he made a big ruckus in space with whatever he was doing with his experiments, and now somebody in space heard him, and they've come calling, more specifically, Galactus. What happens to their world, because they're in a different timeline, we don't know yet. But we do know that they have a spaceship, and at some point or another, they leave Earth. There's a shot of Earth being decimated in the trailer, so none of these are spoilers. You get to find out just what the smartest man in the world and his team can do. And it's going to be interesting as well, because they finally revealed that both Reed and Susan are going to have their first child. And that's Franklin Richards, who in the comics has world-altering powers. So he could actually bend reality to his will. In fact, I mentioned before the Onslaught incident in the comics. That's where a lot of the heroes went up against an amalgamation of Magneto and Professor X. And when they took him on, it was believed that they were all killed in the final battle, only to find out that Franklin Richards actually created a pocket universe and put all the heroes in this little dimension, lived out their lives, kind of like relived their origins, essentially, until they were eventually brought back into the proper Marvel Comics timeline. A lot of people didn't like the idea, and the sales gimmick was kind of but it lives in the comic timeline. So in this case, Franklin Richards has that ability to create pocket dimensions. He's a mutant who can literally alter reality. I wonder how they're going to use that. We'll see what happens. But we do know that they leave their timeline and eventually end up in our timeline. Because after Fantastic Four First Steps, we also go into Avengers Doomsday, which I want to say is next year at this point. Yeah, 2026. And then the following movie after that will be Avengers Secret Wars, which you have the Russo brothers coming back. They've already did the reveal of all the different chairs and all the different actors. The actors from the Thunderbolts are also mostly included. So you have this huge list of actors. Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doctor Doom. I know we've talked about that one at certain points. Again, it might have been on one of the other episodes that hasn't been released, but it's interesting to see where they're going to go, because now from here, they're going to have a reset point for the movies. And there's already been talk again about a 10-year plan going forward. It's kind of crazy to think about them doing a 10-year plan going forward. We already celebrated 11 years back when Endgame or Infinity War came out. So now we're further down the timeline as far as MCU, and they want to make another 10-year plan. Let's face it, after Endgame, they had a few missteps. Whether it was because of the pandemic, whether it was because of the strikes, trying to shoehorn too many projects into one time period or time era. I'm starting to lose my words now. But whatever time frame that they were going to try to put all these different films and series in, there was just too much, and the quality was starting to dwindle a little bit. So now that we're going to get this, if this is a reset, if this is them getting back to form, if this is them saying, hey, look, we want to make things more comprehensive, I guess, then hopefully, yes, take the time, take the money to do it right this time around. And hopefully we'll see what happens. Because some of the more recent stuff that they've been putting out has been better. Loki Season 2 told a pretty good story, even though that was kind of like the offshoot of what happened to Kang. They kind of give him a send-off in that series. Loki's end in that series is very interesting to see what happens. He is included in Doomsday, so we'll see how that plays out. The more recent Daredevil Born Again series is really good, but it does rehash some of the storyline from the Netflix series. It is a continuation of the Netflix series, so it's very interesting to see that they retread a few things. But this one was also a victim of rewrites and restarts, because they got to a certain point and they realized, hey, look, we wanted to make a law procedural using Daredevil. Makes sense. Daredevil was a lawyer by day, crime fighter by night. But when they saw some of the stuff that was coming back and a lot of the other actors were not returning at the time, they said, stop, let's redo it. Let's go back to square one. Let's invite back some of the other actors. Let's get back to what this is supposed to be. And I got to say, retread aside for some of the storyline, it's pretty good. So I want to see what season 2 is going to bring, even though they filmed, I think it was 18 episodes in total, and they split it. So 9 for the first season, 9 for the second season. I will say Punisher returns, Karen Page returns, Foggy's there, the guy who played Bullseye from the Netflix series is back, Wilson Fisk is back as well, Kingpin. Trying to remember who else. Vanessa, who plays his wife. You see a lot of the familiar faces, which is fun and exciting. So for people who watch the Netflix series and stuck with Marvel through that time, you're getting rewarded because you're getting a bunch of stuff. For people who are new to the show, maybe it makes sense for them to retread some of the storyline because maybe other people didn't catch it back then. So who knows? Maybe, you know what? Let me stop there as far as the different things are now, because I can go a lot further into this, but then I'm just like, I'm dolphining into different Marvel topics, and you know me, I can just do this all day long, whether Doug's on the phone or not. I can just lose myself when it comes to these conversations, and I'm having a conversation with myself at this point. So I will talk with Doug and see what's going on. We'll see if maybe we can get back onto a regular recording schedule, and I'll try to see what I can do as far as releasing those older episodes from last year and earlier this year at this point. And I'll always tag them and say they were recorded on such and such date, and that way things will be more will make more sense as you listen to them as we go further. But I think this one, especially because the anniversary is tomorrow, I will work on this one tomorrow and try to get it up as soon as possible, and we can try to enjoy a brand new episode in the meantime. For all the listeners out there, once again, I want to say thank you. I really, really appreciate the fact that people were asking about it, wondering what happened to the show. It stopped, showing up in your feed or whatever the case is. The fact that people were calling, texting, and just in conversation saying, hey, whatever happened to the show, it's still there. Trust me, we're going. So anybody, if you've asked me, awesome. If for the people who haven't listened, shame on you. Because I do have people every now and then. It's like, so what did you guys talk about this week? There was no show this week. Obviously, you haven't been listening. So I got it on both sides. Don't get me wrong. I love it when people ask about it, but at the same time, the people who should be asking me about it and they don't, I'm like, oh, you just don't listen. I got it. Trust me. Nobody has to be interested in everything I do. That's fine. I can take it. But at the same time, again, thank you. Here's to 19 years. It's been a lot of fun. Although it's been on again and off again in more recent years, it's still a labor of love. And again, what started off as what was supposed to be a radio demo, that ended up becoming a podcast. I don't think I would have foreseen any of the things that we did, any of the things that we've talked about in the shows or the different conventions we've gone to, and the people that we've met along the way. So thank you. It's been a lot of cool stuff that's been going on, and I hope to get back to it and see what happens. So that means I got to get out there more. I got to talk to more people, and I got to find out some more interesting things so I can share with you, the audience, and we'll go from there. Aside from that, it's getting late, and I got to get up in the morning. So, how do we do this? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's been that long. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. On the behalf of Doug and myself, we are the Rabblecast.